Hi, Mike. Lovely to meet you. Congratulations on a really wonderful documentary. So, The Islands of the Whales. For people who haven't seen it before, can you briefly summarise what this documentary is about?
Sure, yeah. This is the story of the Faroe Islands between Iceland and Scotland. And it's really a tale of them coming to terms with the environmental damage that we've done and having to reconcile their old traditional ways of life with the modern life that they now lead.
And I understand it's your first film,
First feature, yeah.
first feature-length film. Took you over 4 years to make. What was it that drew you to their story? How did you come across it?
Well, it's a very cinematic microcosm to tell this story, but also they were the people who are on the front line of this story. The Dr. Palvaya studied them for 30 years and discovered the damage that the pollution in the sea was doing to the children there. And not just there, everywhere. They were the ones where it was discovered, but once you go to the place, it's easy to fall in love with the landscapes and the place and the people, and it's a tragic tale, really, but one hopefully there's a happy ending in if people react and listen to the messages that were coming from the natural world and from the islands and from the whales.
I mean, you have some, from one end of the spectrum, some really incredible, broad cinematic shots, but you also get into some really intimate spaces, with families around the dinner table discussing these issues. And they're, on one of the whale hunts with blood-splattered faces and spears and all the rest of it. So how on earth did you go about filming all of that?
We drank a lot of schnapps with them and got to know them we filmed over 4 years for 53 weeks. So we went on the hunts, we went down the cliffs with ropes wrapped around our waists in the middle of the night and spent hours on ledges while they hunted the seabirds. And we went, that hunt, no foreigner had ever been allowed on it before. So to be able to see it is one thing, but to capture it on film was really a humbling experience. And I think we earned our stripes that day going off those cliffs. So, that's... my previous film as well was about seabird hunters, and so they were able to see that and know that our agenda wasn't what a lot of the previous coverage was, because previously, I came across the story very early on through the emails that were going around about the whale hunting aspect particularly, and a lot of the information on them was just completely wrong, that this was a festival or a rite of passage to become a man, and from a documentarian's perspective, these things were just wrong, regardless of how you felt about the whaling. It was factually incorrect. So there was a journey that I went on that the audience goes on too, as we sort of learn more of the facts about it.
I think that's one of the amazing things that it achieves, is that there is an objectivity there, which is, some of it is really hard to watch, but perhaps no harder to watch than in any other kind of animal slaughter. And you really do see the kind of nuances of the situation, which this is a tradition, and it's hard for people to move on from that. So is that something that was important to you to achieve?
Yeah, I think there's a very easy hypocrisy to come to stories in faraway places with a very preconceived view of it, and we kill so many animals and we don't see the blood. It goes out a pipe in an abattoir. So unless you're vegan, because you're involved in the slaughter and the blood of animals, they are putting the meat on the table with their own hands, and they're much more connected to the process. So there was that disconnection that we had from nature. And the fact that our disconnection from nature means that we don't notice as easily how contaminated our food is. So it comes in a plastic box. We don't see the plastic that's in the stomachs. So it was very important to me not to sanitize that, also not to sensationalize it, because a lot of the coverage previously had been for the drama of the whale hunt. So it was challenging to depict that in the right way.
And there are quite a few surreal moments, not least Pamela Anderson turning up with these flashy...
Yeah, that was unexpected to me too.
So how did you kind of handle all these different elements? It's almost, there's not that much commentary there, but you managed to sort of thread it together well.
Well, they speak for themselves, and then that was a great opportunity to have those two sides speak. I don't think that they'd really had a debate before that could be put together that way. So it was a gift, really, that we had that opportunity. But that argument for me was so entrenched, because you're right. There's no compromise in that argument. You either kill the whales or you don't kill the whales, and they're not going to stop killing the whales for that reason anymore. That we're going to stop killing pigs because someone in the Middle East doesn't think that you should eat pigs. So leaving that behind, because nothing was going to happen, in my opinion, with it. I wanted to look at the bigger story that really should unite both sides, and actually has. Anti-whaling organisations and whalers alike should all be campaigning for these seas to be cleaner. The toxicity of the whales should be something that disturbs us all, and because it's not just the whales, it's everything in the sea is being polluted by us, by burning coal, by gold mining, totally unnecessary things.
And so there are a lot of broader points to be made, other than just focusing on the key thing about whaling in this region. And something else that comes out for me is kind of like this generational gap, perhaps as well. Like you can hear some of the older guys sort of saying, "Oh, the youth are being controlled by, the internet in New York and London, and silence is our best weapon," and this kind of thing. So is there kind of other themes coming out there as well?
Yeah, and I mean that even. The first summer when we were there, the locals had an unofficial vow of silence, and they just didn't hunt. And then they realised after the activists returned that if they kept that policy up, well, then their tradition was finished anyway. So they decided they were damned if they do and they were damned if they don't. So they decided to go down fighting, as it were. But all of that, I think, has made the hunting there more popular than anything. If you live on a small island and the Danish Navy SEALs are rugby tackling girls from Australia on your beach, you're going to come out and watch that. So it became very popular to go to the hunts whenever they were there. That was something. There's some surreal moments in there.
And what's your biggest hope for the impact of this film? For just general awareness, people to see it, or something more specific?
Well, I hope it pulls a few heads out the sand if anyone was in denial about what we're actually doing. I didn't set out to make an environmentalist film. I went there to document a way of life that I thought was going to end. And I discovered that we were the bad guys in it, no matter what your opinion on the whaling was. And that there was still time to change if we listened to the messages, which is really where the Huldafolk, the mythical elves that live on those islands that some people still believe in, they always had to listen to the warnings that they gave them about our impact on the natural world. The days where you would starve if you didn't look after the cliffs where the puffins were, if that was your primary source of food, you had to know that you had to look after the mountain. Or now we forget to look after the mountain.
And what's next for you, Mike? Any other projects?
I'm off to film cowboys. Well, I've been filming cowboys for a year now. Cowboys who do poetry competitions. So we started filming in the week after the election. So it's been an interesting time to be in that part of the world. And a fiction film in development as well. So.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.